Hey, I'm ncolyer and thanks for tuning into this video as today I'll be showing you how to build your very own nether tree farm. This type of tree farm can produce most of its own bone meal and even uses multiple high-speed dispensers to grow nether fungus, which are then pushed into a blast chamber and exploded using TNT. What makes this farm so fast is that the pistons are placed next to blocks that generate more frequently, as opposed to traditional designs where a piston wall will be placed in the middle of the tree where less blocks are likely to generate. This means that there's no added complexity, but you get a much faster farm. If you'd like to learn more about how this works, I've written a wiki page on how these nether trees generate, as well as a short video showing how this concept can be expanded upon, both of which are linked in the description below. Anyways, by employing these new techniques, the rates of everyday simple nether tree farms can skyrocket into the hundreds of thousands per hour. I specifically compacted this design here to reduce complexity as much as possible, while still maintaining an output of 180,000 items an hour. I avoided the use of slime blocks and honey blocks in this farm, so you don't have to worry about making a slime and bee farm just so you can harvest a couple logs. The 12 slime balls that are needed for the sticky pistons can easily be obtained by visiting a swamp during the nighttime and killing a couple slimes. This material list is for the Menace version, which doesn't compost any items. Unlike the Greeny version, which produces 40% of the bone meal that it uses. This means you'll need to supply the farm with a bit over 20,000 bone meal an hour. To get such an amount, I recommend constructing either an automatic moss farm to produce bone meal as you use the farm, or take the bones from a mob farm and put the bone meal from that into a big storage silo such as this one to keep the farm topped up while you AFK. This farm also requires 14,000 fungus per hour, which can also be obtained automatically through the use of a fungus farm such as this one designed by Kdender. Basically, everything that I mentioned will be linked below in the description, so you don't have to worry about trying to find it yourself. Before we get into how to use and build this farm, I just want to let you know that there will be a pinned FAQ in the comments below if you get stuck. And if you need more specialized help, I highly recommend joining the huge Fungus Discord server, where there are plenty of people to help address your individual issues. You can find the invite link to this at the top of the description. Also, if you're making this on a server and something specific breaks, please inform me as I'll try my best to develop a fix for it and then make that fix known so other people who have the same problem as you can refer to that fix later on. This farm also uses TNT duping, so check with an admin to see if it's enabled or allowed. So, I'll be building the Menace version of this farm, block by block first, and then when I get to the end, I'll show you the modifications needed to make it produce its own bone meal. Throughout the tutorial, I'll be building it layer by layer, and the construction process should take about 90 minutes. Before we place the first few blocks, I recommend checking out the world download and use that as a reference in case you get stuck. Or if you're familiar with Lightmatica, you can download the schematic and use that as a template instead. Okay, so to begin, you either want to be in the overworld or the end, as this farm uses water. I like to build this farm away from my spawn chunk, so it's not constantly being loaded and causing unnecessary lag. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to start by building this farm from the bottom and working our way up layer by layer, as that seems to be the simplest way of doing things. Okay, so for our first layer, we're going to place down some chests like this. This is where all of our items are going to be stored. And you can expand this to be as big as you want. You can add shulker box loaders. It's very, very customizable. There we go. And then just chuck some hoppers on top like that. Now over on the edge here, we're just going to build out a little section like this. And this is where the lava is going to go. So any items that come through here, and for some reason, maybe the hoppers might have filled up all the way because you didn't make enough storage, the overflow of items is going to go in the lava, and it's not going to build up and cause any lag. And the only ice block on the server goes right there like that. Okay, so once you've done that, you want to build a little barrier on the edge like this, with some walls going parallel, and a set of chests here. So these chests basically align the items. So we get our water bucket. The items will go up against this chest and they'll align against it, and then they'll be going on both of the hoppers. So we got another one of these chests to help align the items. And this goes around like that. Okay, so going up to the next layer now. I'm going to build across like so. And then when you get to here, you want to build one block out, and then 3 going in, and then 4 going out like that. and then just diagonally kind of bring them together like so, to get this kind of like arrow shape going on. And then just repeat the same thing on this side, so we go 2 over, and then 3, and then diagonally bring it over, 2, 3, 4. There we go. That looks right. And then you just want to chuck some water like that, and that's going to flow down here. And you'll see we chuck like a chest down there. It's going to land there. And the reason why the chest is so slow, you can see it aligns. The reason why the chest is so slow is that so the items can kind of stack together a little bit. So they all group up into one item entity, and then the hopper can take all of them in at once. Okay, so for this next layer, we're going to need a couple more stone bricks. Start by building out like this. And then the same thing on this side. I'm going to go 3 blocks out here. And then chuck a wall on top of the water. So you have a shape going like that. And then we want to build 1 out like that. And then 2 more. And then go 4 across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. And then we're going to build diagonally out until we meet here. So that's kind of aligning with the center water stream like that. And then over here we're going to do a similar thing. So we're going to build 3 out there, and then another 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just move diagonally inwards again. You'll see we meet up like that, and you just want to add 2 more blocks, like so. And now you want to go around the lower layer, like this. And then just fill in the middle here. And then repeat the exact same thing for the other side. And now you should have like a double-sided arrow like this. Now if we go up 1 more layer, you want to build like this. Go all the way over to where you were before, but then go an extra block. And we're kind of just going to outline what we did before. Should join up nicely, like so. And then I'm going to grab this edge here, and we're just going to extend it out until it aligns with this edge, and then fill in that corner. So a similar thing over here, just extend this corner out, and then you fill in the middle. Okay, exact same thing for the other side again. Okay, so I made a little mistake. There's actually no stone going in the middle like that. There's just a piston there with a redstone block, and another sticky piston facing up like so. So for this next layer, you want to get out your observers, torches, and fence gates, plus your building block of choice. And we're going to go up like that, chuck down a redstone torch, and then over here we need a downwards facing observer, like that. And then place some stone bricks like so, so you kind of have like an L shape. And then the tip of the L, you go over here, and you place down 4 spruce gates, like this. And then make sure they're all open nicely. Now back over here, you want 2 stone bricks like that, and then come all the way over to here, and just build a little wall going around the edge like so. And same thing on the other side. But once you've done that, you want to place down 4 buckets of water. If you want, you could use ice here. That's perfectly fine. And that's going to flow like that. And just double check that you've filled it properly. So the water should be getting just to the very edge and then flowing over like that. And then there should be this 1 block gap here, and the water should meet in the middle like that. So that's basically our water collection system done. Okay, so this next section is going to have a little bit more redstone in it. So over here, you want a repeater set to 2 ticks, going into some redstone dust, plus a comparator, and another one facing in the opposite direction. And then build up like so, and place a redstone torch over there. Now over here, we want dust on top of all of these blocks, and then a stone solid block there, and then we're going to build a little T shape of stone like so. Now over here, we're going to build another T shape, and then we're going to attach some more fence gates like this, and then get rid of the temporary blocks, and open up your gates. Like that. And then to finish off, we're going to add a stone brick there. Okay, so we're going to keep going with the redstone. Add some like that. A block there, and another one to the side. Another bit of dust. And then we don't want that to happen, so we're going to add some stone there. And then coming over here, you're going to place down your nylium of choice. So I'm going to make a warp stem farm, so I'm going to use warp nylium. If I want to change it later, if I say I want to harvest some crimson stems, I can just simply change this from warped nylium to say crimson nylium, if I can type. And that's basically all you gotta do, you just gotta switch the nylium like so. It's not too much of an issue. Then coming over here, we're gonna place down our lever, so that's gonna turn the farm off and on. And then coming over here, we need to grab out some sticky pistons. I'm gonna place one like that, and then an observer facing that way, and then some temporary blocks, and another sticky piston, just like that. Now coming back over here, we're going to add our second observer, like so, as well as some stone blocks going in this way, and then we're just going to turn this lever on, as that is the off state of the farm, the lever being on. I know, it's confusing. Okay, so this next layer's got a bit more involved in it. So we're going to start by just placing an observer down like that. And then on top of that observer, we're going to have another one facing up like so. And then a note block here, and another note block there, with an observer detecting that note block. And then over here, we're going to grab out a piston, and just place it like so. Now coming back over here, we need to grab out our nylium, and we're just going to place some nylium going like that, with a dispenser facing into it. Then grab out your hoppers, and you want one hopper facing in like that, with a dropper one block over facing up, and then get out your temporary blocks and place another dropper like that with a hopper going in at the very end like so. So we're going to come over here, place some stone like that with an upside down observer, and two more stone to the edge with a piston like so. And over here you want a trapdoor with a wall like that. Now it's important that the trapdoor is actually facing into the wall, so when you activate it, it changes the state of the wall, like so. And then you simply have an observer going into a wall block like that, and then you also want some obsidian right there. So that's that layer nearly done. We're just going to add some redstone dust going like so. Let's say block that. Okay, so this next layer is going to require your utmost focus. Okay, so we're going to place some dispensers like this, and then a piston, and a sticky piston, with our stone bricks on either side of the sticky piston. Then you want a dropper, with hoppers facing into it either side, plus another dropper facing into it from behind. And then we're just going to chuck some hoppers going in like that. That looks correct. Then chuck one more stone brick there. And then coming over to this stone block here, we're going to place down our single spruce door. And that's going to be facing into the hoppers like that. Okay, so now if we come over here, we want to place down an observer facing into two stone blocks like that. And then a sticky piston at the edge of those with some dust there. Now you want to get out your droppers, and starting at this dispenser, you want to count 1, 2, 3 blocks over, and then place 2 droppers either side. You can get rid of the temporary blocks, and then place your droppers down like that. I did not mean to remove that dispenser, it's an accident. And now we've got our redstone dust going in like that, and then you simply want to get some hoppers facing in like this. And then on the edges here, you just want to add in 2 more droppers. And now we're going to have hoppers facing into those. So we kind of have something that looks like this. And you want to get out your observers again, and run a signal going into the stone block like that, so it powers the sticky piston. And that is that layer all done. So for this next layer, you want to grab out your handy chests. And we're going to place 2 like this, and then 2 more in the middle. So you kind of have this little, another T shape, I guess. And then over here, you want to smack down 2 obsidian. That's just going to protect all the delicate components inside. And then you actually need glass here, or a transparent block like that. And then the redstone dust on top. And then over here you need a piston here, as well as a piston there, with a stone block in the middle. Now for this side, you want a piston facing this way, and one going the other way, and then another one going the other way, kind of like that. Now over here, you want to get redstone dust and some more white stained glass. And then next to this piston, stone bricks like that. Wall, more stone bricks. An observer detecting that wall. More stone bricks, there's a lot of bricks in this build. And then just kind of place your trapdoor and signs like so. And everything that we just placed then is just to contain that little bit of water. So just to spice things up a bit, we're going to add some more chests like that, and this is where we're going to be placing our fungus. So if it helps you at all, you can kind of label this as fungus input, and then you might have guessed already, but over here is the Bonemeal input. So if you need help with either a Bonemeal or fungus farm, I explained what to do for those earlier on in the video, and there's links in the description as well to help you out. Okay, so now we're getting onto the part of the farm where we're just placing down a bunch of pistons, so it gets a little bit easier. So 2 pistons like that, a trapdoor on top, some stone bricks, and a couple observers going in like that with some dust on top. And then if we come around to the other side, we have 2 more pistons, another one facing this way. Kind of see where this is going. And then you want some dust on top like that with a solid block there. And then we want 2 more obsidian there just to, again, help protect our cute little components. Okay, so we're going to start this next layer off with a stone block there, some dust on top just like that, with some glass. And then over here we got a couple more bits of glass to place down. And then just the same deal with the pistons, just kind of placing them on top like so. And then some more stone bricks going across like that. And we're also going to place 2 more, just like so. Okay, another layer of pistons. And then over here we have a stone block with some more dust. And on the other side, similar story. Couple more dust, couple more glass blocks. And then don't forget about this part back here. So you're going to pillar that up with a couple bits of glass. So this next layer actually has a reduced amount of pistons. We only have 1 on that side, but then we have 2 more over here. And then that one in the middle. With something like that. And then 2 more stone bricks with some dust, solid block there, and a glass block there. Now over here we want 1 more dust and then a piston, and that's basically the core of the farm done, just like that. So you can make this like a lot taller, but it becomes really hard to harvest like the blocks that it generates, and that's a problem that I'm going to be working on a bit later. Also, if you want to save lag, these hoppers here, you can actually, if you grab some composters, you can chuck some composters on top like that, and that will just help you with lag a little bit. So with any hoppers like that, might help if you really care about that sort of thing. Okay, so before I move on to the next layer, I'm just going to place down this little bit of redstone here, and go like that, because step 2 is placing the roof on this thing, which is vastly different to what we've been doing. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so for this roof, we're going to be starting on this piston here, and we're going to place 2 slabs with a furnace on top like that. And then from here, we're going to go 2 more out, so we kind of have this 5 wide area of slabs. And we're going to go 4 up, so we're kind of like 1 block in front of the furnace, and then just fill this area in. Okay, so it stopped raining now. It kind of just rained and I didn't even realize. It's kind of funny. But anyway, we're just going to place down some more stairs and slabs, like so. And then we're going to make a 5x5 square out of stairs and slabs. So you're going to make a border just like that, and fill it in with slabs. So all of these stair blocks we need to waterlog. By the way, if you're like loaded on obsidian and you got a lot of it, you can replace all these waterlogged blocks with obsidian. Okay, so that can be a little bit tricky in survival, because you need like one water bucket for every slab, as the water doesn't spread by itself. So what I recommend you doing is just coming over here, and just making a quick infinite water source. So something like this does the trick, and then you can kind of like pair water like that, and it's a lot quicker that way. So it's a pretty similar process on this side. So you start one block ahead of the pistons, then you go 5 out. So that's gonna be 3, 4, 5. Kind of make this shape. And then you need 2 stairs facing away from each other like that. And then we're just going to make our 5x5 little pool. And don't forget to waterlog these 2 stairs here. Kind of looks like a face. Okay, so for this next section we're going to be going up 8 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. And then we're going to have a sticky piston going into a block here with a bit of dust, another sticky piston, and redstone repeaters on 2 ticks going into 2 more blocks, kind of like that. Okay, so now we're going to go 2 more up like that, a bit more dust, and then across like this, and then a similar thing on this other side. Except here, we're actually going to place a solid block just like that. Okay, so starting from this back corner obsidian block, so this one here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks over, place an obsidian, and then a temporary block like that, and then obsidian on all 3 sides, just like so. And then we're going to pillar up about this high. Now something important that you don't want to miss is this 2 obsidian here, because that's going to protect the chests over there, and also if you have a Bonemeal refueling station, those obsidian is going to prevent that from getting blown up. Okay, so on this side, starting from the bottom of the door, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks over, and then place an obsidian. You see it lines up with the other one that we have there. And then we're going to place our temporary block, get rid of our other temporary blocks, and then just build up to the same height that we were at before. And for the other side, you want to start at this dropper, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks over, place an obsidian, and then go 5 blocks over, place the other obsidian. Then you can get rid of your temporary blocks, place down another one like that, and then build all the way up until you're 1 block below the roof. After that little fix, we're going to work on the TNT dupers themselves. So we're going to start by placing a trapdoor facing into the wall like that, and then grab ourselves an observer. That's going to face into a block, bit of dust, repeater, and then we're going to have another wall, another trapdoor, and then an observer facing down. If you're on survival, you would kind of make your own little scaffolding platform like this, and you would place the blocks like so. But because I'm creative, I can fly, which is quite a bit easier. So yeah, the actual TNT dupers themselves are really interesting, because unlike a lot of other designs, they don't use any slime blocks, or they don't use any minecarts. Just a lot of things that make dupers expensive and laggy. So it's just all around a much better duper design, if you will. You can see it's not too difficult to build, and you don't have to worry about accidentally triggering the TNT at the wrong time, because right now the TNT isn't buttered, so you can place blocks around it and nothing bad's going to happen. So coming over here, we're going to place 2 stone blocks like that, and we're going to kind of bring this down, just like so. We're going to go another block across, place this sign, and then we're going to get out our water bucket and stairs and our gates. So we're going to start with the water bucket there, and then the gate above that. So you end up with something like this. So this fence gate here is actually 1.5 blocks tall, so it kind of blocks the TNT from moving this way and getting stuck. And then the stair allows the TNT to start falling down a little bit earlier because it's got this little notch here. So we can actually give this a little test run. If we hit that, see the TNT is going to fall down, and then it's going to explode roughly halfway between the obsidian platform. So the reason why we don't just let the TNT just like kind of fall down and land on the obsidian is that if it's directly on top of the obsidian, a lot of the explosion power is going to get, it's going to go into the obsidian, and it's not going to go into the tree that we want to blow up. So this just allows us to destroy a lot more blocks per TNT. It's a little bit of trivia for you. So on the other side here, we're going to build literally the exact same thing. Okay, so we can now test both of them simultaneously, which is a little bit scary at first. Okay, so for this side, it's basically the same thing, it's just we have the TNT dupers 1 block in. 1 block further in. So we have the scaffolding like that, with an observer going into a solid block. I'm going to slap another repeater there, a wall, and a trapdoor. Okay, so we're actually going to build our first duper over here this time. So I was just kind of speeding through that a little bit. There we go, we just got 1 more to build, and then, my friends, that is your farm done. Once I've finished this build tutorial, I'm actually going to make another segment where I show you all the little tweaks you can make to this farm, in case, TNT duping is disabled on your server, or in case you want to add like shulker box loaders. I'll show you how to do all of that, but I just want to show you how to do the base farm design first. Let's turn it on, turn it on for the first time. Fresh farm, made from scratch in a video game. Okay, so if we hit this lever down here, it's going to turn on a clock. But now there is actually one thing that we forgot, and that is a single water bucket there. Yeah, it's still pretty loud. Hopefully it hasn't been too loud throughout the tutorial. Okay, so just before I show you what modifications to make, there was one single block that I missed, and that is a stone button here. To load the farm up with Bonemeal, I suggest first making a moss-based Bonemeal farm, and then connecting that up to these chests here. Otherwise, you can continue to stack chests like this and load them up with your own Bonemeal. Once you've set up the Bonemeal storage, you can move around to the front of the farm where the fungus is kept. I recently made a fungus farm which you can connect here, and that will automatically supply you with, well, fungus. Now that you've filled the farm up with everything that you need to keep it running, you can hit this trapdoor here and then crawl forward and look down to activate the lever, and this turns the farm on. Now, simply aim at the nullium and hold down right click to continually place down fungus. An auto clicker or tweakeroo can be used to place fungus while you're AFK. Alternatively, you can also rebind your right click key to spacebar and place a weight on that key. If you instead want to harvest the crimson variant of blocks, then break and replace the warp nullium and crimson. Also, if you have item filters, you'll need to change the items in the filter to that of the variant that you are harvesting. So I've just been doing a tick warp for exactly half an hour. So I've had a bot account in here placing down fungus. And yeah, this is no word of a lie. You can get the world download and test this yourself. This is literally everything that the farm made in half an hour. So just as a nice little visual demonstration. Yeah, so just going through these chests, you'll notice there's not too many shroomlights. That's because this isn't really a shroomlight farm. There's a couple like in these hoppers here. So you might get like a few thousand an hour. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to add the modifications to the farm to make it semi-self-sustaining. So these are the additional resources that you're going to need. You also want to get some junk filler items just to chuck in the item filters later on. Okay, so the first order of business is just closing up this water stream because that's just going to get in the way. And then we want to get rid of all these chests here, just like that. And then you also want to clear out the area below you. Now coming over here, you want to add a selection of composters, just like that. And then hoppers all the way underneath. So that's just going to convert all the stuff that we don't want into nice and tasty bone meal. Now over here we need to replace these hoppers. Okay, so once you've removed all the hoppers from there, including that one, you want to go from this wall down 2 blocks and then 1 across, and then just build 5 across like that. And on the other side, it's a similar thing. So 1 across from the wall, and then you want to go 1 more across, and then you build 5 like that. Only 4. And then comparators on top like so, and then hoppers facing into those. Make sure they're not facing downwards or into each other, so that's like the best way to lay it out. Okay, and then you want to bring this line out by 2 blocks. Add some dust on top. Then go down 2 blocks and make another row. And 2 more rows of blocks either side of that. Now in survival, it's actually easiest if you put the redstone repeaters in before you put in that back row of blocks. And chuck some dust on top. You should have something that looks like this. And then some torches here. So once you've added in those torches, you want to chuck some hoppers below the first hoppers like that. And then these hoppers can go to like a massive chest storage or whatever you want, maybe even shulker box loaders. I'm just going to use barrels for now, even though it's going to fill up super quickly. And you also want your storage on the other side like that. And we're just going to mirror what we did on this side. So go a couple blocks out, 2 blocks down, place down our repeaters, place dust on top of everything. And just on here, we can place down our torches. So that's that all nearly done. So now we got to add the item filters. So say we're farming warp stems, we're going to grab out a couple of those, as well as some junk items. So I'm just going to use this slamming. And you're just going to fill up the last 4 slots, with your filler item. And then the first slot with the item that you want to, or the wood type that you want to harvest. So if you want to farm the crimson variant of blocks, then what you can do is switch the nylium like we talked about earlier, and then come into here and just change out the filters like this. Okay, so once you've done that, we can add our water back in. So you see it's going to flow there, but it's going to stop. That's not what we want. Okay, so once you've added the water back, you want to add a hopper facing down like that. And then a block out with a comparator taking a signal. And it's going to extend out 3 more blocks. Slap a torch in the end. I'm going to run this line like so. All the way up to here. So that's actually going to face that way. And then 1 more hopper like that. And this hopper is actually going to be filtering out shroomlights. So shroomlights are so rare in this farm. You only get like 2,000 an hour. That it's not really worth composting them. So personally, I like to sort them out so you can have a nice decorative light source. Okay, so coming back over here, we want to add a dropper like this. Another dropper there. Facing kind of like that. So it's looking right here. And then you want to grab out some soul sand. Place that on the bottom. You can probably guess what we're about to do. Make a little bubble column. And this is going to go a couple blocks up. So build it until it's at the same level as the chests, and we'll return to that later. Now as you descend, you can chuck down your water. Just like that. So now if you were to chuck an item in it, it's just going to fly all the way to the top nice and quickly. Okay, so the next step is making a system to turn this dropper on and on. So we're going to start by placing an observer facing down, like that. And then a piston there. Piston there. and then he's going to have an observer facing up. And now if we come along here, we're going to add a redstone line going that way, and it's going to get its source from here. It's going to sneak down like this, and it should meet up somewhat in the middle, and then we connect it with dust. So when we turn the farm on, this piston's going to turn on. There we go. Okay, Bonemeal. It's going to make its way in there. And then, yeah, at the moment it's just spurting out like that, which is quite messy. Okay, so for this section, we're going to add a couple more blocks going like this. And then this is going to kind of curve around, just like so. And then we're going to add 3 hoppers. And some walls on top like that, with 2 chests there. I'm going to extend this concrete out a little bit more, add a wall there. Yeah, like that. If you want, you can add another wall there just to make sure that nothing gets out. And then build across like that, so you have like another L shape. Then add some walls on the side, just so the water doesn't escape, because we're going to add some water right there. You'll see they'll flow up until that point, so we want to add some ice there, and a sign, just so the water doesn't leak out. And now we've got that little part done, and we're just going to add one more water source there, and you'll see they'll flow quite nicely. And yeah, that's the self-sustaining part of the farm done, so that's going to provide about 40% of the farm's Bonemeal requirements, so you're only going to need to build maybe like 3 or 4 of these modules. If you're really advanced, you can actually make double-speed Shulker Loaders. So these ones here are filling up with warp stems, and then the empty Shulker box, or the full Shulker boxes, go in there. Also, you can use 2x speed item filters. So these point directly downwards, and it's like double the amount of hoppers. And then, as you can see here, they're sorting out logs at a rapid rate. Something I didn't mention before is that because there's so many items coming in at once, you actually need a lot of filters to sort out the fungus. So adding like 3 or 4 is probably enough. In this case, I've just added 6 just to be sure. And then you also need a couple more hoppers for all the composting. But luckily, this can actually supply the farm with enough Bonemeal to run itself. So you don't have to worry about supplying Bonemeal. If you have any extra questions, I advise you to first read the FAQ in the pinned comment, and then if you still need extra help, then join the Nether Tree Discord server linked in the description, as there will also be plenty of Nether Tree farming enthusiasts who would love to help you resolve any issues. Anyways, thanks so much for watching this video all the way through. I hope that my fungus farm serves you well, and have an awesome day. Bye!